if you think about that, it's hard to find an apartment in New York that's $2,000.
For the people
Yep.
that don't understand the New York real estate market, when I was applying for the mortgage for the place that I had in Greenwich Village, it was obviously a great neighborhood, great area. The apartment itself was fine. I
Mhm.
mean, I wouldn't say that it was like, Real Housewives material, but it was
Right.
fine. And you had to either make enough to cover 100 times your monthly rent.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
for a $3,750 a month thing. That's,
Yeah,
better part.
375.
Yeah.
Yep.
375,000.
Yep.
And that's just one apartment
Yeah.
in that whole building.
Yeah.
Right. And people don't realize, they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah. And that's to live in that place.
Yes. Yes. Now, on the bottom end of that
Mhm.
range, right? The rule of thumb for, the outer boroughs for a quote unquote affordable, right? People who don't live in New York might laugh at what we call affordable.
Yeah. That's right. I know.
But even for affordable housing and small landlords, the rule of thumb is 40 times. So, right, if you think about that, it's hard to find an apartment in New York that's $2,000. But in order to be eligible for that, you have to make 80 grand,
Mhm.
right? And so people like you and me may not think that. We don't think that hard about it.
Mhm.
But if you look at what the AMI, right, the area kind of median income is in New York, there's a lot of people that don't make that cut. So
Yeah.
how are they living, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
have public housing, which isn't great, has its own issues. But that's a real challenge. So part of what I'm doing, and I don't profess to have the answer to it, is trying to figure out, as I'm moving forward with my business, I'm focused on small buildings. Building small buildings affordably is very difficult.
Mhm.
They're impossible, right? For smaller buildings.
Wait, you go over budget?
So the challenge is, from an underwriting perspective, the cost of land is so high, the
Mhm.
cost of development is so high, and the cost of development is so high per square foot for a smaller building, just because you don't get some of the economies of
The
scale
scale, right.
in building a larger building. And some of
Mhm.
your soft costs especially are going to be really high relative to the
Mhm.
building, because
Mhm.
Department of Buildings doesn't care how small your building is. You still got to go through
Code,
all the hoops and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
And then if you're smaller too, and you're more likely to be using private loans, your cost of capital is higher, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
all of those things compound to make it just much more expensive for a smaller building.
Mhm.
When you're done with that, right, and your cost per square foot is, $700 to $1,100 per square foot, as opposed to, 5 to 7 on a much larger building, it becomes very difficult to get financing, right, at an LTV that makes that viable. Otherwise, you have a lot of trapped equity. You may have to put in more equity
Mhm.
just to keep the building, and the return profile, just gets really anemic on a building like that. So that's the reason that 421A was important, right? And the reason that New York City has to have programs like that, that kind of make the models work, right, for folks to do affordable housing.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.